There were two major lies about Jax's abstraction that change everything, with the second one revealing the possibility for this abstraction to actually be reversed, which started with a big lie found in Jax's mind exploration scene after he abstracted. You see, during this scene, there ended up being multiple doors shown that many fans of the show found confusing. On top of two of these doors being strangely locked up, it turns out that there was a third one also kept as a secret, something that one fan actually called out, saying, "I've been wondering something. Did someone mess with Jax's doors? Because we were shown 5 with the following colors from left to right: green, blue, yellow, red, and the one locked up. Pomni visits 3 of them with different scenarios of the characters abstracting, and in the end, she visits the central yellow door where all Jax is gathered. Only something about them was strangely messed up, as we saw how Pomni started with the closest door to the left, the green one, the one where she meets the first version of Jax. Then she turns to the right and goes to the blue door. There she meets the maid outfit Jax. So far so good, but then after that, something is wrong. She's shown looking to the right and goes to the locked up door, except that door is supposed to be on her left behind her from that spot, and then she goes back to the farthest left door with Toon Jax now being there, and for some reason it's now green instead of blue, and she never visits the red door. What the heck is happening here? As it can't simply be explained by saying that it's in Jax's mind, so anything can happen, as we saw how everything else was consistent so far, and Pomni was never confused on where to go, meaning for some reason this red door was additionally never opened, similar to the other locked ones. So what was really behind this door, and how do we know? Well, we know based on the other doors in the hallway revealing scenarios of characters abstracting, how this red door would obviously have to reveal the same thing. Only this would leave Kinger and Pomni as the final remaining options for characters that could abstract behind this door in the first place. So who is it? Well, we know in Pomni's case, she's been shown throughout the show as Jax's last remaining friend who still had faith in him, meaning a scenario where she abstracted would cause a lot more pain for Jax than a scenario where Kinger does. But what would this tell us about who is behind this red door? Well, we know Jax's stronger connection with Pomni would point to her abstraction scenario actually being separate from the others. It would be behind one of the locked up doors that we never got to see in the episode. We know this for sure because from what we're told, this door matches together with a particular moment in the show between Pomni and Jax earlier on. It connects to this earlier fight scene the two have in episode 6, where Pomni specifically asks Jax what he would do if she abstracted for real. To which we see Jax make a strange expression saying that he'd move on and probably forget about her. Something we clearly know to be a lie, only regardless of this lie, we know that during this moment, Jax was made to think about Pomni abstracting for the first time. He did this before Pomni made her way to this previously mentioned secret locked door in the first place, cementing in her abstraction scenario as different from the others in Jax's mind, as we're told how I think the inside of this door is not shown because that scenario is so suppressed. It was so traumatic for Jax that in the situation where Pomni abstracted, he would not be able to handle it. A second way to see it, the door is heavily locked here because it's holding an abstracted Pomni and an abstracted Jax. If Pomni abstracted, Jax would feel so awful he would immediately be next as he wouldn't be able to stand it, which clearly connected Pomni to this locked door more than Kinger, meaning he was the final remaining character to be behind this other red door. Only if this was truly the case, what would we specifically see on the other side? What would Jax's reaction be to Kinger abstracting in the first place? Well, in order to understand that, you first had to understand our second lie about Jax's abstraction. What if I told you that Jax's abstraction was actually reversible? You see, while the show's creator Gooseworks previously told us how abstraction was a process that can't be undone, we know that she's also admitted to lying for fun, as fans of the show have dug up countless examples of this. This included her saying earlier on how there'd be no musical numbers at all in the show, only for for us to get Daisy Bell in episode 6 and the one who's running the show in episode 8. Only, how do we know Gooseworks is also lying about Abstraction not being reversible? Well, it turns out there's a lot more proof than you might think, which started with these 3 Easter eggs scattered across previous episodes of the show. Little messages reading "Chill Fella," only we know that these messages were associated with Ribbit, one of the specific characters who abstracted. Glitch literally spelled this out for us by including 2 handprints next to one of the original Easter eggs, as well as a depiction of a frog, obviously the same animal that Ribbit is. But what would this Easter egg have to do with proving that Abstraction was reversible? Well, on top of our previous details, we know the specific message shown alongside the Easter egg, "Chill Fella," proves how there was more going on with Ribbit's abstraction that went unnoticed. It was specifically shown during Jax's panic attack scene in episode 6, meaning "Chill Fella" was likely a message Ribbit was communicating to her old friend from beyond the grave in order to help him. This was our first clue that abstraction was more complicated than we first realized. Only we know it's even more complicated in Jax's case, as it turns out he was recently shown in an official digital Circus poster made by Glitch coming back from Abstraction after all, with all the other Circus members around him next to the message, "We still have each other," implying that it was the other characters that were able to help Jax out of his darkest moment here. And while yes, this poster was simply part of Glitch's advertisements following episode 9, something that wasn't directly tied to the show. We know these advertisements have actually been used to tease certain episodes of the show before they've come out. For example, Kaufmo's voice actor was used in an old advertisement video before his role in episode 9, meaning just like Kaufmo's involvement here, this other poster could be foreshadowing something big as well. The fact that abstraction can be reversed, but how do we know for sure? Well, we were additionally told how all of the characters are essentially digital data, meaning theoretically this data can be repaired after initially being corrupted, aka after a character abstracts. However, the reason for abstraction seems to be that the person loses themselves. Without this core part of themselves intact, their digital data dissolves into chaos. While Kane can restore the body to its proper form, which he's demonstrated multiple times with the other characters, he needs the person's core self in order to do this, as without the core, it immediately reverts back to chaos. To bring a person back, one would therefore have to repair both body and mind simultaneously in order to fully fix the file. Only that requires the person to actually want to come back, which perfectly matches up with what we saw in episode 9. The fact that Pomni was shown attempting to bring Jax back only for him to show that he wasn't ready. He's still clearly been dealing with intense inner conflict, which we know has the possibility of being fixed based on what we were shown by Glitch, meaning Jax would likely have the capability of unabstracting in the future after all. Only going back to what we're told about Kinger's abstraction scenario, it was revealed how this outcome perfectly connected to the piano player version of Jax. Due to this version being the only remaining one we can see, it's fair to assume this would also be the result of Kinger abstracting. Jax's reaction to the whole process, which, if anything, strangely leads him to a more friendly state. Only the version of Jax we don't get to see was still hidden behind this other locked door. While we're never shown the other side of this door throughout the entire episode, it turns out we still know exactly what's in there. And I'm able to reveal exactly that for you in this video right here. So for what we know about episode 9, make sure to check it out.